Hello, Aries. How's everybody doing? Happy May. We'll be reading for June, but I'm starting this reading on the second day of May. The way that I basically structure these readings is that they're good for 6 to 8 weeks, so that's why I do it in advance. And in case anybody wonders why I do it in advance, it's so that we can be prepared. What fun is it to know that something's going to happen after it's happened, right? So I'm a big proponent of free will. And the way that these readings are set up is it's a way for you to be prepared and aware and to make the best choices in your life for yourself, right? So hello, everybody. Apollo's freshly groomed here and saying hello as well. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. We'll be looking at Aries today. And like I said, this will be for the next 6 to 8 weeks. And the way that I structure it is in the following format. I like to begin with psychic messages at the beginning, basically just dream interpretation, conversation that I have with my guides before I get started. And I also channel all of this down in automatic writing. And basically all of this is recorded in front of me. So I'll share with you all of those channeled messages. The channeled messages are unique in that anybody that joins in either live or on replay may receive a message for any sign. So you're welcome to show up if you want to 12 times and get some messages each and every time I go live. The second portion is really tuned for the sign that I'm focusing on. That's going to be the Celtic Cross. And I don't necessarily look specifically at love or any part of your life. I really allow that to take on any energy that it needs to take on. After we take a look at the Celtic Cross, then I like to expand the forecast to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. And those particular parts are also going to be multifaceted. Nothing is sort of like clean and dry. I always like to kind of go through all of the different layers of the onion skin as we look at it. In the latter portion, we'll do a quick review, and then I like to go deeper and look at maybe one or two of your areas of opportunity, or perhaps maybe if there's a challenge in front of you, blessings and blocks, basically. And then we will meditate, and then I'll pull a card at the very end to help answer an additional question that you may have, that I didn't have a chance to take a look at, or maybe something that's just coming up over the course of the reading, okay? So that's how this is organized for today, and big welcome to everybody here. I'm gonna share a couple links here because my moderators sometimes have some issues here with Google and YouTube. They don't always cooperate here, so if you would like any information, there's already a pinned link at the top. If you'd like to follow me on social media, here's a quick link for that as well. I recently did a couple, actually last month was a banner month. There was a lot of different videos that I did, 2 collectives, and then also one where I was answering questions. So if you'd ever like to be able to submit questions or maybe vote, I'm gonna start to occasionally do viewer choice sort of videos. You can become a patron, and there's a couple ways to do that. Everyone here that has green text next to their name is a sustaining YouTube member that basically has joined the channel, so thank you so much. And both Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members have the same basic perk, which is when I post something and ask questions, you have a chance to participate a little bit more. So that's just my way of giving back. But everybody's welcome, and that's it for now. Let's get started. So by the way that I work is that this is a general reading for everyone present. So I don't take individual questions, but if you'd like to show some support, you can absolutely do that by clicking on the super chat icon there. You can send a sticker, you can say hi, you can just let me know that you're there and you enjoy this. And another way that you can show support is really easy. Anytime you enjoy what you're seeing here and you want to show that you like it, you can just click the thumbs up one time during a video. And if you haven't previously subscribed, subscribing helps. You can also opt into the bell icon so you know when I go live. All right, let's get started. I always like to begin with a totem, and today's nature totem or spirit totem is the elk. And let's talk a little bit about the symbology of this animal. I wanted to bring up some images of it. It's really majestic, actually, and a pretty powerful symbol to come through when I'm looking at a sign. So here is a beautiful image of that. You can just really see it's a nice symbol of the divine masculine. It's interesting because all of last month, it seemed like we were primarily getting divine feminine, and this one came through really strong for divine masculine. What I was paying the most attention to when I looked at the elk was their horns. Not really their horns, their antlers, because they shed them and horns are permanent. Here you can see the antlers where they have a little bit of velvet on them as the bones are growing. And basically, if you didn't know, they shed these every year. and it's part of the mating ritual that they have. And then they go through that process again and grow it again the following year, which I thought was fascinating. So let's talk about it. Again, your spirit totem this month is the elk. The elk's antlers symbolize the divine masculine and mark a new cycle of growth for you. And it's a reminder that part of growth also requires letting go, which I'll talk about in a second. But this is a cyclical thing. So sometimes we go through periods where there's a lot or not so much. And this is a reminder that we can always renew a resource in our life. We can always come back. And that's what I really liked about this particular symbol. And again, with divine masculine versus feminine, feminine is usually nurturing, investing, receiving. The divine masculine is about taking some action, standing up for yourself, pushing something through a little bit more, using your voice for sure. And so because we've been sitting in the divine feminine for a few months, I feel like now this is a really good energy, particularly for your sign, just to start to see some movement. Just like when the seed pops up through the ground, that's kind of like divine masculine energy as well. Once it's growing, then it's divine feminine. We all have the capacity to go between the two. It's not about gender. It's really about the energy of movement. And the movement for the month of June is more in the divine masculine based on what I was picking up here. This also is just a connection to the divine. Anytime you see antlers or horns on any kind of animal or in sort of a symbol, a lot of times in different decks, you will see someone wearing the horns or a horned god. And basically what those just represent, especially when it's pagan or really, really old religions, that was just a connection to the divine, the same way that the halos symbolize that, or a nimbus symbolizes a connection to the divine. So your intuitive skills are in a heightened state this month. That means that no matter what kind of job you're doing or what kind of role you play in at work or in a relationship, that you're going to just be a little bit more finely tuned to what's going on. And sometimes that means that a surface conversation doesn't gel with you. You think, I know there's something more to this. I need to investigate. Let's go a little bit deeper. And I really want you to trust that whenever you receive that kind of information. But whether you're a scientist and you suddenly get this idea for an experiment, or you put together something in math and you have this idea of how to solve something, or for those of us that are artists, it just means things will be coming through a lot easier. Epiphanies, basically. I want you to pay attention to that inspiration, that epiphany, that aha moment, because it should be happening more across the board. It's not just creative people that are intuitive. Everyone is intuitive. They just use the intuition differently. I'm eventually going to do a podcast, hopefully this year. And that's one of the things that I'd like to look at, is the different walks of life and how people connect, because I think it's fascinating. And I think that there's a misunderstanding sometimes. All right, so let's take a look at the next piece here. Whether you're focused on it or not, like I said, that intuition's coming through. The other piece, as we look at the antlers, because that was the primary thing that my mind was drawn to when I was meditating on this symbol. It is part of a mating ritual, and so there's a very attractive energy to it. And if you think of what antlers are set up to do as well, it's kind of like sparring and catching things. And in different animals, whether it's a tusk or a horn or an antler, sometimes it can be used for digging, sometimes it can be used for knocking things away. It is strong, it is magnetic, and it can catch things a little bit. So you have that magnetic quality this month, and you're going to stand out from the crowd. So whether or not you're focusing on having other people see you or trying to court people in your life, you're still going to stick out a little bit. Why not use this spotlight, this sort of magnetic energy? And this is your time to be bold, to speak up, to take some action, to get some attention. Not always about you. There could be some sort of a cause or something that you really want to see take shape or take form. And this is your chance to be that catalyst, to be the one that makes it happen. As I said before, the antlers are grown each year and they're also shed. So if you lose something, this is a reminder of that ebb and flow when it comes to sort of abundance in your life. There are times where we have a lot. There are times when we don't have as much. You can always grow. You can always create again. The competition piece also came through pretty strong, because the reason that the male elk grow this is so that they can, fight and show who's stronger and hopefully get some attention from a potential partner. So competition is going to play a big role for some of you this month. It could just be competing against yourself. For those of you that are like an athlete, or even if you're just trying to be healthier and you're looking at a certain goal, whether it's, gaining muscle, losing weight, being active, whatever it is. Sometimes we set these goals for ourselves and we can be our own worst competition or best. So I want you to keep it in check. I think that a small dose can be great for jump starting something, but a little goes a long way. So just don't go overboard, basically. You might have to fight for something. If it's a job, if there's someone that you are interested in, there may be a lot of other people that are interested in them. If you're trying to find a house or an apartment, there may be a long list of people that are also vying for that same place. So there is competition, and that's what I'm seeing there. Remember that it's not always about who's best or who's first. We'll talk about that later. It's really just about making sure that you're doing your best and that you don't want to leave the other people out. If I think back to like school, some of the folks that I was sometimes competing against, it was really someone that you admired. And when you could work together, you could be stronger sometimes. So if you can take the competitive energy and say, well, what if we work together, and together we could work, sort of stronger and smarter, and then we could get further ahead. Maybe you can find someone that's on the same energetic and also same creative or mental space, and you can get a lot more done together than if you're just trying to, sort of prove yourself against this one person. So anyway, that's the message there with that. Competition is important, but so is collaboration. And what we really see with the elk is this cyclical energy, and you're entering into a creative cycle. Let's make the most of it, right? At the end of the mating season, they released their antenna, or their antlers rather. So I would say one of the things that you'd like to think about is releasing an attachment in your life. If something did suit you but no longer does, but you're thinking, I'm having a hard time letting go of it. It could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could also be something where you're just used to it. Even like an apartment, we outgrow certain spaces sometimes, and it's hard to let go because we're afraid, can I find something as good as this, whatever this is? And what I see here is that releasing something will allow you to go to the next cycle of growth. And then I see growth happening again. So there you go. Beautiful animal, beautiful messages, and we'll see how it factors into the cards here in just a moment. Now let's move on to some dream symbology that I've been receiving for the past couple of nights. The first thing was about rose quartz, actually, and I need to get a bigger sample here so it's easier to see on screen. But you can tell it's basically the color rose. It's hard to tell. Maybe if I just hold it against my shirt, since it's black, you can see it's a nice rosy color. Rose quartz is beautiful because even though green is kind of the color of the heart, rose has this really gentle energy that's good for harmony, nurturing, unconditional love, friendship, all of those things, which I just outlined right here. It's these sort of nice, softer energies. Sometimes the heart energy can be a little intense, but rose is a softer color and a softer energy. So I saw rain collecting in what looked like either a basin or a chalice, and it reminded me of the Ace of Cups, but it was in a rose quartz sort of basin. And to me, this is showing that gently, this could it could be one of two things. It could be tears of happiness. It could be love and light and forgiveness kind of filling this up. There was still some filling to be done. It wasn't overflowing, but I'm seeing you getting to a point where you're ready to either go deeper into a relationship, put yourself out there maybe for the first time, or just call in something new. It was a receptive energy. So divine masculine in the elk, but divine feminine when I was looking at rose quartz and like this Ace of Cups imagery that was coming through. So in order to get to the next level in love, I would say this month, it is about finding harmony. It is about putting friendship first. It is about unconditional love, giving and receiving it, and forgiving yourself and forgiving others. If you can do this, I feel like, anything is possible. So we'll hopefully we'll see some of those messages coming through when I look at the Celtic Cross. The next piece here was, it was very specific. So I'm going to break it down on a literal level because some of you may just simply need to go and talk to someone and make sure that your house is okay. But I saw pipes and I saw drainage issues. I saw stuff coming out of the drain, and then I also saw blockages in the pipes. So on a very literal level, for those of you that are homeowners, you might want to just take a look at it, especially if you are coming out of the winter season or maybe going to a place that hasn't had the water on for a while. It looks like there's something with the pipes. But if I were to abstract this, and I just did a video on dream symbology, so you should check it out if you didn't. But the way that I would abstract this is that you could be blocking yourself or others with limited beliefs, because the pipeline to me is sort of like the ability for things to flow creatively, as far as sort of just ideas as well. Sometimes we block ourselves, and it's just the same as putting something and clogging up a drain. So when you start to open your mind and open the pathways up, then I think some really cool things could come through. So open your mind. That's one of the things that I would say. If I were to pick a card with this, it would be like King of Wands reverse, or the Hierophant reverse, or something. Well, actually the Hierophant upright, something that's very rigid and needs to be a little less rigid. Also, there could be a better point person, because to me, the drain, or not the drains, but the pipes indicate like a conduit. So if you're working with someone, you know, maybe it's your lawyer, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a coworker, and they're supposed to do something, but they're not getting the job done. Maybe it's someone that you've hired. Feels like there might be a better path from A to B. So take a look at who you are working with, and perhaps how open they are to what you're communicating, and also take a look at if there's something that you're trying to force. Like if you're trying to find a place to get something produced, let's say that you have an idea, a patent or something, and you're trying to find a place where there could be production and distribution, but they just don't understand, and it feels like you're constantly trying to force something to happen. Don't. There should be more fluidity and more movement and an easier sort of energy of back and forth when it comes to something like that. So yes, reciprocity, give and take, and you shouldn't have to be pushing something completely one way or the other. And then just keep an open mind. And I think you can basically let go of stuff like that, any blocks that might be there. All right, next up we have really interesting, and it's very specific, and I report what I see. So I saw someone that was imitating your voice, almost like a ventriloquist or an echo. There was something weird going on where they were trying to speak like you, but it wasn't you. So, and then I saw like the Lovers card morph into the Devil card. And if you've ever looked at the two cards, they're very similar. Just the difference is the choice of angel versus devil. And then also that one is in a garden and the other one is kind of chained down. But the lovers are actually in the same position as the partners in the Devil card. So when I see something like that, it's a clear symbol to me from spirit that I have a line in my book that, you know, the wolves are coming or whatever. That this is the sort of same thing. It's like somebody that is trying to show up one way, but your antenna that you have this month, your antlers are going to say, no, this person is trying to sell me something and I'm not buying it. So trust that. I think that there is somebody there that is just not exactly what they're putting out there. So just trust your intuition, not what's on the surface. More specifically, when I see a Devil card, either in the spread or if I see it in my mind, to me, it's a contract that you don't want. Nobody wants to do a contract with him. So avoid a one-way contract that's benefiting another person more than the other. And any sort of an engagement that's out of balance. And even for someone who just seems more focused on personal gain. I think these are things that are definite red flags. So if someone ever asks you to put 100% of the cost up front for something that they're supposed to distribute or help you with, it's like you're taking on all the risk. They're not invested in it, right? Same thing in a relationship. If you have to sacrifice everything, you have to give up your job, you have to move, you have to lose your friends and this and that. It's got to be more of a trade-off, right? So there's something where it was too much to lose, too much at stake. So for this Devil card to become the Lovers card, the person has to meet you much closer to the halfway mark, like exactly halfway for me to be more comfortable with it. So you could just negotiate this to high heaven is what I would say. Ask for what you need. And if they don't provide it, then you know that's not the right conduit. Okay. Then the next two are a lot lighter, but I had to highlight that. Be careful with contracts. Look at the fine print. Get a lawyer if you need it. And if your intuition tells you that something's off, that's all that matters. If it's something about their business card, their website, the way they're talking, because I was picking up on the speech, it could just be that sense that there's something they don't mean what they're saying. So definitely trust yourself with that. Okay. 100% avoidable. A lot of times we know what to do, but we don't listen to ourselves. So just listen to yourself and you're going to be fine. Okay. Next piece we're going to look at is what I saw. You were basically traveling. It looked like you were in a plane, but for some reason I was focused on when you were being served, when you're going to receive something. And you were the last person served and it was upsetting you. But it looked like you had a really good meal, maybe one of the best. And what my guides were showing me is that sometimes it's not the best to be first. It's actually advantageous to be the last person because you can learn all the lessons that other people had to through their own sort of trials with fire. And you don't have to beta test things. It's sort of like, no, I know how to do it. And now I can just really focus on relaxing, surrendering to the process, to my intuition and my inspiration, and just make a splash. So if you've ever watched a comedy routine, for instance, and there's a bunch of different like stand-ups, the first one will set the tone. You kind of forget who's in the middle. And then at the very end, there's someone that's really strong, usually, that can close. So you're the closer during this month. It feels like there's something where you're supposed to close the process or close the deal, and people will remember you and maybe the first person, but everyone else is a blur. So there's a blessing in your placement, whether it's last or second to last or almost near the end and you're upset. Maybe it's even because your name starts with a letter towards the end of the alphabet. There's certain things we can't control, but whatever it is, it's going to set you up for a moment of success because you can learn from others. You've had more time to rehearse and you're ready. Just don't get in your head and think, oh my God, now how am I going to do this? Everything's okay and the alignment is all right. So basically, not about being first, it's about being the best you can be and finishing with a strong sort of impression that you leave with others. And like I said before, especially if you're thinking of software, I don't beta test software because I need this to work for me. So I make sure that there's a stable release of whatever operating system I'm using on my telephone or my computer because I can't afford a crash when I'm talking to all of you. So I don't beta test. I look for stable releases. So you're in that same sort of stable energy, and that's really what the next month is providing you, is stability. And the very last two cards, and then we're going to get into the messages for today and in the Celtic Cross, is that I saw a series of tests, but I fast forwarded first to the celebration or the party. It felt really good. I saw a smaller but intimate group of people that you really liked. It felt like there was like 10 people, 12 people. But at the celebration, you were talking about all of the things that happened that were tests along the way. You had choices to go down like two paths. You made the right choices all along. But for some of you, this could be one a month, or it could be a series of 3 to 5 months or 3 to 5 tests over the rest of this year. It's not just this next month. What my guides told me were that you need to focus on avoiding burnout, keeping temptation at arm's length, not giving into temptation, and realizing that sometimes you have to just work. You have to put in the time, you have to put in the effort, and it's going to be okay. But there's a series of tests. It's not just one. It was a few. I would say as little as 3 or as many as 5. And it felt like you had to just keep pushing. And at some point you're like, seriously, one more test? Yes, the universe is serious with this, but the end result was quite worth it. And they were of varying degrees. It felt like the final was the hardest, just like it would be if you were in college. But there were little tests along the way, choices in what's like testing your morality, testing your readiness, testing your fear, testing your trust in your intuition. All these little things were coming through so that basically you're going to break some cycles here. You're finishing up a karmic lesson here. And it feels like for you, it's going to be done before the end of the year. How quickly is up to you. Maybe as little as, a month or 2, but it felt like it would take a while here. 3 to 5 tests to me would probably be at least a quarter of the year. So, we're in May, so June, July, August, probably by the middle to end of this year, I think you're going to be in a really good place and things should start to feel a lot easier. Just don't give up. And if you sometimes feel like, why is this happening? I'm doing everything right. The universe is giving you one more sort of chance to show that you've integrated lessons, basically. Okay. So those are the main points that I want to cover here at the beginning. Let me just quickly cover it in case anyone just joined. A reminder that I always review it at the midpoint, so don't worry. Your spirit totem today was the elk. We focused a lot on the antlers, which interestingly enough, they grow right around the mating season and they shed directly after. And so the divine masculine energy, that of action, is coming through. It's going to be also for some of you competition, completion, renewal. So you could be either at the full or the world end. You're kind of somewhere between the end and the beginning of a cycle. And you might have to fight to kind of push through, whether it's like letting go or beginning something new. And then the next piece was to focus on opening up your heart space. We're looking at rose, not necessarily green, and not definitely not sort of the typical. It's interesting that we normally associate red with the heart, which is really kind of like the root. So I would say this month you're focusing on kindness, harmony, friendship, unconditional love, forgiveness, all of those things which are going to open you up towards higher love. And then opening your mind, finding a different or better channel if something is blocked because you don't want to force it. Really looking at contracts to make sure that you're not missing something. And then not worrying so much about who's first or who's last. It's more about, have I actually been set up to be really successful in this moment in time? And you have. So those are your messages. Now we're going to segue into the cards here. And apologies today because we can't put links in chat. For some reason, YouTube's been a little weird. So normally my moderators could set you up and kind of show you how to connect with me. Right before the midpoint, I'll put some more links out. But if you enjoy what you're seeing, please give me a thumbs up. And later, if you're watching this on replay, feel free to comment and engage with it. And there's actually one more way that you can give back if you like what you see, and that is by using the applaud button on the replay. All right, I'm gonna get some more water because I forgot it, and then we're gonna look at the cards, okay? So bear with me for a moment. And we are back. I get questions sometimes. You're like, what are you drinking? It's water. It's just a green glass. So now you know. All right, let's pull the cards and see what messages are coming through for you today. Thank you again for being patient. You can watch this for your sun, rising, and moon sign. You can also watch on behalf of someone else. If you know other aspects of your chart like Venus, it will work for that as well. And also, like I said, the way that I work is I'm clairvoyant. I work with a lot of different modalities, so you may find that the message resonates even if you're not part of this sign. So just stick around and let's see what's coming through for you. Not quite an elk, but we definitely have the divine masculine there with action. All right, everyone, let's take a look and see what's coming through for you. Okay, let me take a drink here since I just got this, and we're gonna start off with your catalyst card. We have this beautiful Medicine Mother card here saying, honor your inner knowing. And one of the things here that I'm really picking up on is that you know what's best for yourself sometimes. This is the intuitive side that we don't always listen to, right? You know, when you step into a house or a relationship or an opportunity and it just feels right, or maybe it feels like I need to go the other direction. Listen to this. This to me is just as much, it's like equal parts magician and high priestess energy. And I love her crown. It's like a sunflower. So really, really cool. What we're looking at also is the choice this month to do what's healthier for you, what is honoring your, you know, your highest good, and maybe making a choice where you're prioritizing happiness, health, and well-being over the other aspects of your life. Okay, so I really, really like that. And I would say that it's important to not let other people stand in the way, whether it's a boss or a loved one and they're pushing you too hard or whatever. With that one, it even says here, honor your inner knowing. So you really do know what's best. And this is a heightened sort of high priestess. I see it as the merging between high priestess and magician, really having the capacity to do both. So that also tells me that you have really great capacity this month to manifest. And I encourage you to do that as well. At the center here, we have the Six of Wands. Six of Wands is a great card to start things off for you. It basically portends success. For any of you that are launching something new this month, this is great. So if you're starting a new job, if you're launching a product or a project, fantastic. If you're starting something new in your life, also really good. It portends success, basically. The other thing that we see here with all the horses that are in this particular deck that keep coming through is leading the charge, very close to the elk card or the elk image that I had earlier. I would say for you to not be afraid here. If we look really closely at this one, I think he also has like a hawk that he's carrying there, or yeah, like a hawk or a carrier pigeon or something. Looks more like a hawk. So one of the important things for you this month is to figure out how to get the message out there. Sometimes we wait until something's happened and then we try to do the marketing. Don't. So if you have some sort of a launch, some sort of an announcement, some sort of an engagement, or something that you need people to be aware of, the same way that I have to announce dates before they happen so that you know to show up, you have to do the same here. Planning, announcing, and really making sure that you get people accountable if they said they're going to come as well. For those of you that are teachers or planners, event planners, this could also be about going through the roster and saying, hey, you said back, 2 or 3 months ago that we could do this. Are we still good? Really push to make sure that people keep up with their commitments and their engagements. Overall, it's a really good card. The only thing that I ever encourage people to do with this is to not either fall victim to feeling like you have to do something for the benefit of others, so basically peer pressure, or if you are a creative type or someone in a service industry, trying not to solely do something just for success. You have to do it because it's the right thing, and also because you think it will be received well, but not just for the goal of popularity or being received. So some of the best products or creative outputs are because they're true, because they're pushing you out of your comfort zone. So when you think of like music, for instance, sometimes the best music is something that makes you think and makes a splash. And if you think of like milestone albums that nobody ever heard before, it's a sound. It kind of creates a new sound all of a sudden. So you have this chance to be that kind of person making a splash, okay? In some way, shape, or form this month. So own it. It's a great energy for you. Now we have what I was seeing with the rose quartz. Princess of Cups, I'll take it. Ace of Cups, or in this case, the Page of Cups, pretty close. So it does feel like you're on the precipice of being ready to receive it. There's a little bit of healing that's required because I saw the rose. So for some of you, it's just the feeling like I deserve it, right? Whatever it is. Maybe it's a new love. Maybe it's a new opportunity. Maybe it's just this sort of self-worth where you think like I deserve to achieve this next thing in my life. So I'm here to remind you that yes, you worked hard to get to that point and you do deserve it. You are worth it, right? So that's the message with this. Is this a good time for love? Depends, because we're looking at a tower card in your ego, but I would say there could be someone knocking on the door, but let's hold a little bit on that because I like to save it for the expanded forecast. But I can see new people coming in. And what I talked about way at the beginning, if you just joined, was this sort of magnetic energy that you have, both because of the elk and when we're looking at the antlers, it's really about mating ritual and attractive energy. And then also the rose quartz ace of cups that I was seeing. So I'm seeing this sort of receptivity, this standing out energy, but it feels like there's a little work that you have to do on you. So let's dig deeper. By the way, this is a really good combination if you are a writer, an artist, a musician, or someone creative, or you're following your heart, because this is you following your heart or doing a creative endeavor. This is the success that follows, and the two go hand in hand. So follow your heart this month, no matter what you do, but especially if you have some sort of a creative gift, that's where it all is. And we have the Ace of Cups here in the deep past. It is reversed. And I would say for you, the thing to focus on here is, this is in the past, so most of you have worked it out, but it's coming through as a reminder. Do I sometimes have a habit of putting myself second? Do I often find that other people are relying solely on me? Do I feel like I have allowed others to vicariously live through me and or push me into a path that isn't necessarily authentic? Something our parents will inadvertently do sometimes, like, you need to be a lawyer. Everyone in the family's been a lawyer. You're the first one to go to college. You better do this. There may be something that you want to do that's different from that path. So deviate if you need to. This is now about taking the cup and saying, I'm ready for this. I'm ready to receive this. I'm the one that decides what I want to do. So this is really the inner child saying, I'm growing. I'm still a child, but now I've grown up and now I can choose. Now I can say when. Now I can decide what I want, right? And then that will welcome in this sort of higher love that we see here. Someone who says, yes, you can, and here's some more, okay? So don't limit yourself. This was just the first serving. There's more to come, right? All right. And if there was a rejection in the past, it was probably a protection. I've talked about the way that I look at rejection in spiritual sort of construct is that when we are either unready, underprepared, or when our guides are there to protect us from going down a path that is not compatible with us, rejection happens. And it's basically saying the universe is pushing you away from something, just like if you have two magnets and you have them on the wrong side, they push rather than pull. So when you're feeling that push and it's kind of going in the other direction, honor it. It's actually there to help you out, okay? Next, we have Eight of Wands. This is great. So for those of you watching this live this month, we're looking, and I said this is 6 to 8 weeks. We have the Eight of Wands in reverse. It's still really good. Four of Wands, Eight of Wands, Ace of Wands. These are cards that even if they're reversed, it's just showing a delay or sometimes a need for balance. So we look at this Eight of Wands, and I've talked about the subtractive or the additional sort of elements in wands. So 8 is good, but it can also be something where you lose yourself a little bit. I have a few new decks that I've enjoyed, like the Little Prince deck, and I think there's at least one other one that has a community aspect to the Eight of Wands, a mingling aspect to it. So one of the ways that you could this is the partnership. Bring one more person into the fold or a couple people into the fold. You can get further faster. So that's one thing that I could recommend with this. But Eight of Wands is great because it shows sustainable, predictable growth and busyness. If you're a business, you want to pull this over the Eight of Cups. If you can get both of them, awesome. But Eight of Wands is good because you can start to see the same amount of people coming in or more each month. With Eight of Cups, you get return business, but it could be 1 month, 1 year, 2 years from now. And so I'd rather get a combination of the two or Eight of Wands. So as far as growth, I see sustainable, predictable growth across all aspects of your life, personal growth, career growth, and for those of you in business, also, return clients. But the only thing that I would say with this is just don't get lost in the shuffle, because there's a lot of similarity between this and this. If we were to look at this in another deck, there would be people in it too, but you'd be in the middle of a crowd. And in this one, you're leading the crowd. And the center card is saying you're the leader, not the follower. So you've got to kind of, if you are someone who's you own your own company or you're the head of your family and you kind of, get everything organized, even if you're not like mom, dad, maybe you're an older sister, but you're the one that brings everything together. What you want to make sure is that you don't lose yourself in the shuffle, that you don't give so much of yourself that you miss out on some really cool opportunity. Okay. So manage your time, manage your resources wisely. Don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid this month to prioritize yourself as well. You don't have to put everyone else on the pedestal. This month you can sit there and get a view and see what you've been doing and see how you've helped everyone, right? We have Temperance in the crowning position. I like the kind of alchemic energy here. It's almost like she's also a high priestess mixing her secret brew here. So patience, like any recipe, whether it's some sort of a potion or soup, doesn't matter. You can't rush it. If you do, sometimes everything falls apart. And this is very much in alignment with what the guides were telling me before we started today, which is there is this process that you're going through this month. It's not an accidental one. And there are steps involved with it too, and little tests that are coming through as well. You are absolutely set up for success with the 6. Literally, you're set up for success. This is success at the center. This is passion. This is trusting yourself. And this is not losing yourself. As long as you do that, as long as you're patient with the process, you're going to be okay. All right. I like Temperance because I usually identify it with this time of the year. It's springtime for me whenever I see it. This is an atypical illustration of it. I'm going to talk about the rainbow in a second. There's a rainbow in the far distance there. But normally you would see like an iris or a daffodil or some sort of a bulb there in the background. And I normally associate that with spring or with summer. So even if your season doesn't identify with that, because I know those of you in the southern hemisphere would be going through fall, it's still the same energy of renewal, which is what we're focusing on. I'm not literally reading your season. I'm reading like the season of your life here. So we see a rainbow here in the distance. If you've been going through some difficulties, who hasn't over the past year, this is showing that there are better days ahead. Again, that patience that I was talking about in the 3 to 5 month cycle that you're in right now, I think is going to be integral to making sure that you get to that rainbow. Okay. Next card, Chariot, taking control. Could we have any more horses or elk or any more sort of, I don't think so. We have a lot of four-legged friends coming through today. With the Chariot, the important thing is to remember that you're only as effective in one of these old-fashioned chariots as you can control these horses, right? So a chariot will fall apart if the horses go in different directions or if you can't kind of control that. So what you need to do this month is it's organization and leadership is really key with this chariot card. And then also making sure that you don't waffle or vacillate between two different sort of things. It's important for you to meditate, get clear on what your sort of like idea of what you need to do is, and then communicate that. Hesitation, doubt, and uncertainty just kind of breeds more of the same. And people are looking to you to at least feel better about the potential that everything is going to be okay. Some of you are in the interesting sort of place of being asked to organize or reorganize something that's chaotic. So we've got the Tower in reverse, but it's in your ego. It makes a big difference if it's in your ego or in your environment. So in your ego, what it's telling me this month is you have to change something about your life or yourself to regain stability. So it also can show me that you're in the process of a move, or that whatever you're engaged in, it could be literally an engagement with someone, or it could be a partnership with someone. It could be a living situation. Something needs to shift. It's not what it needs to be. So this is taking an active role and saying, we need to talk. We need to change. Never use the words we need to talk. It's always, it's always a red flag. Just say, I'd love to set aside some time and chat. Something less like those 3 words for some reason will make everybody, 3 or 4 words, and make everybody panic. But if you are in a job and there is a merger, if you are in an apartment and let's say the building's going to get bought out, what you want to start to do is have a conversation way ahead of that final thing happening, because you have an opportunity to have a better outcome. So if you are in a relationship that's falling apart, you can negotiate some sort of a nicer exit so that the two of you can remain friends. If you're in a company that's restructuring, you may be able to get a raise. You may be able to step into a new division or transfer or move, and they'll move you. And if there's anything that's going on, the sooner you take care of it, the better. If it's a health issue, don't put it off anymore, clearly. Getting ahead of it is going to avoid something down the line that will be tougher. The tower is basically saying, from a universal standpoint, now is the time. You may have waited a little longer than you should have, but it's not too late to avoid the full-on tower, okay? Don't be afraid of tower energy ever, because anytime you make a really good change in your life, it can also come through, and it usually comes through reversed. So getting married, moving to your dream home, deciding to get an elective surgery that's going to make you feel better in the long run, making a positive change in your life to release something, it's all the tower. So we can't demonize the tower card. It's not bad. And it's actually pretty good when it's reversed, but you have to step into the change. If you don't, then it's the regular old tower and it feels not so good. All right. So the change is necessary. Make it, embrace it, and you're going to be okay. I had somebody once in comments that got angry when I said that. I'm like, well, it's just what the card is. I'm not pushing you to do something. I could restate it and say it this way. If you wait, it's going to be more complicated. If you do it now, it'll be better. So that's how I would say tower reverse would basically translate. So the choice is up to you. I'm not going to force you to do anything, but I would highly encourage you to take action, make the change, embrace it, work with it, see what you can do, because you got a lot of material when the tower happens, a lot of chance to rebuild. And I feel really good about this because in the environment, we have the magician. So you can do a lot with it. This is a builder to me. This is a chemist, really, usually. And so I feel like you can take these materials and breathe new life into them. Sometimes I like to use the analogy of when life gives you a lot of manure, use it for fertilizer. And that's what the magician would do with the tower card. All right, I didn't like this, but we're going to use this as fertile ground for something better. Okay? Magician requires focus. He or she can do anything that they put their mind to, yet sometimes they try to spread themselves too thin. 8 of Wands happening again. And it would be better to take a little bit off. And I was going to talk about it, now I am. So with the 8 of Wands, if you let go of a couple things, you get to the 6 of Wands, which is success. If you add a couple of things, you get to the 10 of Wands, which is also success. There's really nothing in the suit of Wands that's bad. 7 of Wands means you probably could delegate a little bit more. But if I kind of go through all of them, there's not a lot of bad messages. 9 of Wands, sometimes there's just the message of survival, and sometimes being kind of like feeling like you're beaten down a little bit by energy or working too hard. But most of the Wands are good. So it's a choice this month of how you want to spend your energy. Okay? Good. This is also connecting with the medicine mother here. The magician, like I said, you have a combination of high priestess and magician with her already. So some of you are going to be working more with energy. When I read for people, a lot of times this comes through for those of you that have been doing extra work with yoga, Reiki attunement. You might even be a little bit more empathic. It's definitely a feely sort of card, the magician versus the high priestess, which is receiving and is more third eye. The magician is more aware of its surroundings. It feels things, it senses things, it's more subtle. So subtle energy is coming through in a really big way this month. So just be attuned to the little tiny hints that you're getting all along the way. This will help you pass your test that I was talking about, okay? Perspective is so important when we look at hopes, fears, and opportunity. We have the 5 of Cups. It's interesting, every 5 of Cups deck, every deck handles the 5 of Cups differently. So in this one, we see that some of you are focusing, sometimes you see 3 cups upright, sometimes you see 2. Right or wait, this is closer to it, I believe. So what's challenging sometimes is it feels like you've just been pummeled. There's been a lot. There's been a lot of things that haven't been the way you wanted them to be. But we see the 2 cups here. I have them, and they were good ones. So that actually represents an Ace of Cups and a Page of Cups, because we have the Ace here in the deep past, and then we have a Princess, which is a page in this deck. So you got 2 upgrades there in a really good way. So I feel like you need to turn around, get some perspective, and look at what's possible, and you'll be surprised. We also see these 2 cups kind of as fish here in the background too. So I would say there's a couple of really great things that might be trying to get your attention, but you're missing them. So look around. Reset expectations, even if it's like, I wasn't ready for this. Sometimes that's how it happens when it's least convenient. I've had some of the best things in my life happen where someone says, I have a great opportunity for you. Are you free in 2 days? I can be, but it's not ideal, right? So make yourself available if something really good is going to happen. Don't worry about perfection. Just be present, just work hard, make it happen, okay? We have an avoidable 10 of swords here. It's reversed. The thing with the 10 of swords, if it's upright, I would say focus on not burning yourself out. Try not to have any sort of conversations that are no-win. With the reversal of this, it's basically saying you are trying to move towards healing yourself. And for many of you, that's going to mean knowing when to hold your tongue, knowing when there's a fight that's worth fighting. And the medicine woman here is saying really prioritize health. For many of you, this can indicate spine, back. So it could really be anywhere. It could be like you're having some problems with your neck because of the way you're holding it. It could be shoulders because, you know, if you're typing like this too much, if you're sleeping the wrong way, it could be hitting here on your back. It could also be the tailbone. So I want you to pay attention to posture, your office equipment, your bed, your pillows. Take a look at all the little things, even the way that things are set up at your office. And ergonomic sort of readjustment is going to be really important for you to avoid this. But in communication, it's about not saying something just to say it, just to get a jab in. And if someone in your life does that, walk away from that. Don't let someone put words in your mouth, because that was the thing that I was getting. It was almost like a ventriloquist. And sometimes my guides show me that, where someone's trying to throw their voice in your mouth. And quite literally, it's sort of like, don't put words in my mouth. That wasn't what I said. And I'm not going to react to it, because you're not listening. So if someone's not capable of listening, then it's better to walk away until they've cooled down. As we're talking, I'm getting a little bit of a pain here right in my solar plexus, like almost like a punch right in the stomach. So for some of you, it feels like this would be a really close relationship, parental, partner, or like sibling, someone that's close that can get under your skin. So just don't let it happen, okay? It's in the outcome, but it's like the tower. This is something you can rework. So rework it, okay? Let's go to your expanded forecast. Interestingly enough, most of these were reversed, so I'm just going to pull them upright and talk about how to make them upright rather than identifying them all as reversed. Okay, we're going to start with health, which is mind, body, and spirit. What you want to really do is avoid inaction. Action is the word. The reversal would really be about not taking action. I would say this month, you are leading the charge, as we saw with the Six of Wands. And it's interesting here. These are very different. Like, this is a different deck than this. But we have the white and black horse on the two different decks. So don't wait for the other person to do something. You're going to be the one that decides to do something, is what I see with this. And then lead, let the other person follow. And if you lost a little bit of time, we talked about this before, it's not always about being first. So maybe you're this horse. Well, there's that phrase, you know, the dark horse winner or whatever. Sometimes that's the one that they least expect. It's not too late. It's never too late. So now let's talk about this in respect to health. It's only going to be bad if you don't do something, like I said way back at the beginning. So this was already saying that you have to take action. And this is saying, please take some action. So whatever you want to do to be healthier. And back at the beginning, I said, prioritize your health. So we have 3 cards kind of smacking us over the third eye saying, health is important. You know what to do. You should do it now. That's all. And if something feels weird, just talk. Also, just go out there and be active. Something I've started doing over the past week, which has felt great because we have longer days, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. Even in the Southern, before, you know, winter sets in or fall sets in, you know, it's a little bit cooler and it's nice. I've just been walking more. So you can get out and do like a 45-minute walk or an hour walk and really just move your muscles if your body allows, of course. Standard disclaimer applies here. I'm not a doctor, but what I'm seeing here is that some sort of movement of the body. You could even work in the pool, like it's low resistance, right? But just put in a little bit more activity, move your body, move the energy, break through the sort of energetic blocks in your life, and everything improves. Let's look specifically at some health messages as I look at all of these cards. You know, one thing that I'm going to rely on a little bit was the pipe analogy that came through with the channeled messages. So for some of you, are you drinking enough water? It's easy. Just like keep a pitcher like I do in the fridge, and whenever you're thirsty, drink that. I recently cut out caffeine and I don't miss it. And what you notice is that your energy returns to normal levels without having ups and downs, and you're thirsty, your thirst returns. So drink enough. That's one thing that I would say, is make sure that that's working. For men, if you're having trouble or blockages, take a look, make sure there's no issues with the prostate, or make sure that there's maybe no urinary tract infections. Just get everything looked at. If you haven't gone to the urologist for a while, you want to look at that, okay? Other things with health, we talked a little bit about something that could be out of alignment in your back. If you're someone who is comfortable going to a chiropractor, that may be beneficial. No matter what, you should talk to your health physician if there is something wrong. I would say generally you should focus on stretching a little bit more and being kind to your back. We didn't get the 10 of Wands, but even with the 10 of Swords, you can kind of infer from that you want to make sure that weight distribution, if you're carrying something, it's even on your back, and that will help as well, okay? Let's move along to your wealth card. We have focus your mind, and I was talking a bit about this with the magician card. So you can do anything you put your mind to as long as you stay focused. Losing focus, it will take the power of the magician and kind of throw it out the window. So we want you to stay really focused. And it says, thank you, angels, for helping me focus on my priorities. So one of the things that might be happening is you get a whisper of intuition. A lot of times, sometimes if I'm walking the dog or if I'm focusing on a task or whatever, I'll think, I need to contact this person. I need to do this. Invariably, I should say, whenever I don't do it, the person contacts me anyway. So I'm picking up on their mental pathway, or I'm picking up on something that the guides are saying, hey, do this. So listen to the little thoughts that you're having. It's going to help you with respect to work. The other thing is, can you focus? A lot of us have had to change up our working situation. So if you're recently working at home and you're having a hard time because you're trying to work in the living room and it's not, you might have to set up a part of your house where you can have an office. If you're returning to the office after a year of being out of the office, it can also be distracting, because now you're listening to 3 people talk about what they did, over the past 6 months, and it's distracting. So find a way to find your focus, basically, so you can be successful. Also, if you're trying to do something, less is more. Focus on being the channel. This is the divine channel, basically, the magician. You are pulling inspiration from above. You're pulling it through your physical body, and you're doing something with it and grounding it. That's why, as above, so below. You are the channel. So channel it somehow. Find an outlet, and that's going to be important. We did not get any money cards, did we? Interesting. So if we look just briefly at the cards here, it's mostly wands, like a lot of wands. We've got some cups, and then we have a bunch of major arcana, plus a 10 of swords. So I would say for you, it feels like you need to maybe speak up or ask a little bit more for it. Get some other people to step up and do their part, and maybe take more of an oversight role, because the chariot would be, to me, a manager, middle manager or entry-level manager, but someone that would just sort of say, hey, I'm going to step up. So that's part of this. I would like to see more abundance. So probably when we look at the soul path, I'm going to take a look and see how we can bring in more opportunity for you. All right, let's take a look now at your love card. And what a beautiful card to come through for love. It says it all. It's basically self-acceptance, right? If you are incapable of loving, accepting, and celebrating yourself, others will not be able to do that for you. And we all have something or things about ourselves that we have a hard time maybe loving. But if you can accept, and maybe even accept the fact that others may not care about it as much as you care about it, then magically you start to become free from that burden of perfection or measuring up or worrying about what other people think. So self-acceptance, I love it. If someone is incapable of accepting you, and you've already accepted yourself, that could be because they are dealing with their own issues. So if someone's projecting things that they want you to improve, like, oh, if you would only do this, then I would love you, or you would be pretty or handsome if you did X, Y, or Z. No, that's literally conditional love. That's not unconditional love. So if someone's trying to force you to do something you don't want to do, put conditions on what you have to do for them to love you, it's time to find another way out, push the eject button because we've got the Tower, right? I'm going to quickly look at if you're in love right now. I would say one of the things, we'll look at in love, looking for love, or single and happy. If you're in love, I feel like there's a lot of really good things happening in your life right now. It feels like you're being pulled more towards work, school, or community, and it brings you a sense of satisfaction. Nothing wrong with that. But when I look at the relationship itself, I think that the key thing that has to be improved is sort of like who's calling the shots. And it doesn't have to be the same person all the time. That's kind of what this is showing me. There needs to be more 50-50 equity in this, like both sides are putting in their part of it. So power dynamics and then also communication is not ideal this month for existing relationships. So you want to be careful of stepping into an argument, or if someone's trying to set you up, just say, well, that's an unfair question because no matter how I answer, it's going to make you upset. So let's reframe it. What's this really about? That's something you can always say, I hear the question, but I also feel like there's something more. Like, where is this coming from? How long have you felt this way? What could I have done? Kind of just let the person talk a little bit, but try to avoid them putting you off on a plank, basically, where there's nowhere to go. And I think that will be really key. So it feels like working on communication and working on power dynamics will be really important in existing relationships. Ultimately, you're okay because you have the Six of Wands at the center. You just have to kind of find the balance here. If you're looking for love this month, you have a really attractive energy here. This is chemistry. So I feel like you can pull someone in. But this first card was saying, fix yourself first. Whatever's going on in your life, there's something that has to be sorted. Your living situation, your work situation, some other contract, an ex, something has to be sorted out before you pull the new person in. And you might just have to have a difficult conversation with someone else first before you get into that new situation. 10 of Swords can just be saying, I quit, or this isn't working, or you hurt my feelings. But you can say it because it's reversed in a nice way, which is basically, this can't continue this way. I want us to be able to move past it. It's not like I hate you, you're bad. You just have to sort of like acknowledge that there's a closure to something and find that closure, okay? And if you're single and happy, I actually think it's a good time to be single and happy. You should really be focusing on launching that project, launching that new version of you, whatever it is that you're doing, and having a good time, because this is what's going to bring in something bigger, something brighter, something better. Could also be bringing in a playful sort of cups sign here, a water sign, and that could be good too. I like it. It's a gentle sort of energy. The thing with the page is you don't necessarily always have to associate it with age. It could just be an offer because that's what I see. Aces and pages can kind of be offers and opportunities. So just ask yourself, am I ready? Have I healed myself enough to go there yet? Okay, now let's focus on your destiny card. We have contemplation. And all of these, again, will reverse. So for this, it's not to overthink. It's really just to allow yourself to be in the moment a little bit more, spontaneous, intuitive. Yeah, I think that's the key thing here. It's good to think, but you can sometimes think something into oblivion. So act. Remember, we have divine masculine energy this month. Think, then act, but don't just think. And I think as long as you do that, you'll be okay. And that's the final message there. Let's go ahead now and do a quick review. And then I want to move a little deeper and figure out why you didn't get any pentacles. So I'll ask how we can bring a little bit more abundance in your life. And then we'll kind of look at some other things that might pop up here with the health. I'm definitely interested in health, and then I'll do a wild card. All right. So let's quickly review. And again, if you join late, perfect timing. Your main message here this month with the spirit totem was the elk. And what the elk had to say was basically that it's a cycle of growth, but because of the divine masculine energy this month, you will have to sometimes take the initiative. And we saw that in a lot of cards. We saw the horses here. We saw the horses here. There's a lot of movement, and you are leading that charge. The antlers also represent a connection to the divine, which is kind of coming through with the magician. I told you this is more about feeling it, energy. It's more about the connection to energy than necessarily maybe seeing something in your third eye, but it's still strong nonetheless. So I want you to follow that feeling that you have this month. So your intuitive skills are going to be off the charts, especially when you connect with your heart space and follow your heart. Whether or not you're focused on relationships, you definitely have that magnetic quality. And this is showing how you are approaching other people or how they're seeing you. So I like that the Magician is there, really good. I also like that we have 6 of Wands and the Princess of Cups at the center. So lots of magnetic cards. Use this sort of spotlight energy to your advantage. Be bold, act up, speak up. Really allow people, not act up, but I would say take some action, so people can basically engage with you. This doesn't always happen. Sometimes we blend in, but it feels like this month you're really stepping out and standing out. All right, the antlers also show a cycle of growth. And for some, I mentioned the mating rituals here. So there could be new people coming into your life, but that growth could also be requiring you to step away from something. Like I said, there's a difficult conversation that feels like it needs to be had before you can step into something new. Competition, for sure. You might have to work a little harder to get something done, fight for something, or even validate why, if you try to get a raise at work, for instance, you might have to put down all the things that you've contributed over the past year or something like that. And you wonder, like, why can't they see it? Just go through the work. It's worth it based on what I'm seeing here. Small dose of competition is actually good. It acts like a catalyst. It helps you move to the next level. Just don't go overboard. Don't burn yourself out. This is a burnout card. So some of you could be burning the candle at both ends, and that's also what the Ten of Swords can be. Remember to collaborate and focus on your inner growth as well. The antlers have to push their way out of the skin, and the growth begins within, and that's another message that comes through with them. And finally, if there's some sort of an attachment in your life that's no longer good, it's time to release it. The Ten of Swords in the Tower, basically. I saw rain collecting in a chalice. It's basically this, but it was a rose-colored quartz chalice, and I felt this was looking for higher love, not just for something that felt good, but really something that was good, a deeper sort of energy. Have to focus on relationship harmony, friendship, unconditional love, and forgiveness. And if it's not existing in current relationships, then it's time to find it elsewhere, or to try to push those relationships to grow. I saw pipes that were backed up. We talked about making sure that literally you check out the pipes in your house if you own one, but the rest of this would be about releasing limiting thoughts or beliefs. Maybe someone that you're working with is the wrong person, so finding someone better as that conduit. If someone's trying to throw words in your mouth, like a ventriloquist, or trying to just talk over you, then you have to basically fight back a little bit here, and also realize that there could be someone that presents himself as a friend, but shows themselves to be someone that is like self-serving. So you also want to be aware of that devil in disguise. You're going to be fine. You just have to speak up. It's not about what order you are served in or what order you're noticed when you're doing something. Really, if you are last or near the end, you could actually make a really great impression. So your timing is divine. Embrace it. Sometimes you don't want to be the one that figures out everything that's wrong. Learn from everyone else. You'll be happy that you did. And you're on this nice little cycle here for the next 3 to 5 months that just require you to not lose focus, not lose hope, and you're going to be all right. But there are tests up to 5. And then I see a really great sort of celebration afterwards. So aim for that celebration. Choose the healthy path, basically, with this being your catalyst. And the catalyst keeps you on track and helps you avoid getting into trouble. So choose what's healthy, choose what's good for your well-being and for others. And that's all I have to say on that card. 6 of Wands, success, and following your heart to get to that success, not making something for the express purpose of popularity, but doing it because it feels right. And that, in effect, actually gives you that sort of success and acceptance and popularity that you might want, but it has to be something that feels right. We have Ace of Cups here, reminding you in the reverse position to receive, to ask for what you need, to put down some boundaries, to not put yourself second. 8 of Wands, don't get lost in the shuffle. It's a really good indicator for new movement in career, in self-development, everything across the board. Just don't get lost in the process. Patience is key. There is a rainbow at the end of this rainstorm, wherever you are, so just keep moving. And we have a lot of similar energy here with the Medicine Mother, this sort of like chemist here, and another sort of chemical card here. So we have 3 cards here that realize, hey, I have the power to remold something. And this rainbow comes after the Tower and the Ten of Swords. So patience and kindness is really what you need to do to get through this month, because this represents where your headspace should be. Control issues may come up. It's interesting that on this chariot, it almost looks like a little wheel of fortune at the center, right? So if you can keep everything in order, there's like a hidden wheel of fortune there at the center, which is saying it's going to be all right. You might need to make a move this month, the first move and a big move in some aspect of your life. You might also have to move out of a job or a living situation, or you might have to speak up and make a change in your life. This can be a wake-up call. Whatever the wake-up call is, the good news is that you're awake now. It doesn't matter how long it took to get there. It doesn't matter what you lost in the process. You're awake. Because now you have the ability to create something new, to do something great. There's nothing negative with the Magician card, really. The only thing that can hold you back is perspective, so don't let it hold you back. Sorry, these are all reversed. And then finally, with the Ten of Swords, I want you to focus on elevating communication and not letting somebody else, again, try to put words in your mouth. Take action. If you do that, you're going to be able to avoid all of the sort of potential pitfalls. Most of your cards are good, but you have a couple here that could trip you up if you're not careful. So just take action. Don't wait for someone else to tell you to do it. It's a sign of a good leader, or it's a sign of someone that's just really knows what they want if you can just speak up and take that action, right? Okay. Don't burn yourself out. The other thing that I looked at when I was reviewing this here is that if you've been working without enough sleep, if you've been using caffeine or some other crutch to try to fill in, something that's missing in your diet or in your sleep, it's not going to work. You're going to end up crashing. I also don't want to see either of these cards during a pandemic when it comes to health, because it shows me that your immune system isn't where it needs to be. So I want you to focus on being strong. This is avoidable. This only happens if you push yourself. So don't push yourself too much. Okay. All right. Wealth, we have stay focused. Focus your mind. Don't get distracted. Maybe don't listen to something while you're trying to do something. Really make sure that you are focused on the task. We also, in the Five of Cups, have that 3 to 5 month thing that I was talking about, because you have the 3 here, and then you have the 2, and it's 3 to 5. So I really feel like you're on a nice little cycle here, 3 to 5 months, 3 to 5 tests as well. I feel like most of them are easy, but there's a couple that are tricky, and you want to make sure that you don't miss them. You keep your eyes on what's important. Accept yourself with respect to love and relationships. It's the most important thing. If you can't do it, others are going to have a hard time as well. And if someone won't allow you to accept yourself, then they don't truly love you. In relationships, avoid miscommunications. Fight for equity when it comes to giving and taking. You should be able to celebrate one another's success, be happy for each other. If that doesn't happen, that's something to focus on as well. And finally, contemplation is good, but this is really a month of action. So don't get lost in your thoughts. Don't get lost in the sort of community energy that's going on with all of this. You have to stay focused. All right, let's move on to the next section here. We're going to look now at why you are missing the sort of like money cards. I want to see where the pentacles went, basically, because it feels to me like there should have been a few pentacles. So I always like to see what the absence of a particular suit would mean. I think we rarely look and say, oh no, there's no swords cards, but I definitely want to see pentacles. If I don't see it somewhere, I want to see where the resources are. Swords get a bad rap, but they are what they are. Okay, so my question for your sign is, how can you be better set up to receive abundance? The Wheel of Fortune, which I saw in the Chariot. And this was a really cool wheel card because you see this person measuring out what's necessary for success. It's almost like, is that called a protractor, I think, in geometry? You kind of, you figure out where you are, where you want to go. You kind of make that perfect. It's also like a boundary too. So I think one of the key things for you this month is deciding, this is where the line is, and this is how far I'm going to go, and this is how far I need you to go, really keeping those boundaries. And we see an end of the cycle or a beginning of the cycle. We see almost a complete circle, but not quite. I always see the wheel as a communication of what the next year is going to look like too. It's like a 1-year cycle that you're on. And if we pull this up really close, you'll see that hidden wheel. So right at the center of the Chariot, we see a wheel. And then she's almost holding a very similar wheel in her hand as well. So I do feel like the key to success is control, because that's what this card represents, control. deciding what to do, speaking your mind, staying on path, all of that. But this is great. The other thing that I see here, we see her kind of like right in front of a cave. So for some of you, or maybe it's sort of like an archway. So it feels like there's a gentle coming out energy here where you've been through something and you're just starting to emerge. So starting maybe from a new beginning, but I like where we're at on this, and it shows me a nice cycle for the next 10 to 12 months for you. So it's there, it's within reach, but keep the boundary, stay grounded, stay focused. And this to me would happen after this. So this is all done. And maybe she's even at the foot of the tower and she's like, all right, here's how we're going to rebuild. Okay. But she hasn't given up. So don't give up. All right, let's take a look now at just a message around health and well-being. Since we had the medicine mother, we had the Ten of Swords. So some of this can even just be like how to either embrace the energy of change that we're seeing with Ten of Swords and Tower, or how to transmute it even better than anything that we've seen so far. Queen of Swords in reverse. Definitely don't be afraid to say what's on your mind. She's one of the most outspoken cards that you could pull, and she doesn't mince words. So I would say brevity is best here. You don't want to say something cruel, but being direct, there's nothing wrong with being direct. So if there's a difficult conversation, just get to the point. It's not about necessarily dumping a lot of emotions. It's not about pointing fingers. It could be as simple as, let's say someone was in a Seven of Swords moment. It could just say, you said you were going to show up. You didn't. That made me feel bad. Let's talk about it. What happened? What happened, actually? And that's it. You know, A, B, C, D. What went on? Like, this isn't like you, so I'm concerned. One, it's not acceptable, so don't do it again, but I'd like to know why it happened so that I know how to react. Because right now I have a lot of feelings, but I just want to understand your point of view so that I can get to the bottom of it. And that's it. But she would just get to the point. There wouldn't be this long conversation. There wouldn't be a big, crazy voice. Actually, calm is better. If someone's not listening to you, you can say, I said no. I meant it then, I mean it now. What part of that wasn't clear? So you could just get straight to the point and make sure that people are truly listening to you, because sometimes they don't. They're in their head, or, you know, so don't be afraid to be direct. It's a good thing. And then let the person talk, because you have communications, listening and speaking. So listen to what they have to say, but set the parameters for why you're having the conversation there. On other aspects, this is a revisionary card. If you are a writer, you're revising this month, aren't you? Because we have the Tower and we have the Queen of Swords reverse, or it's going to an editor. If you're an editor, you have a lot of work. If you're looking at buying a house, you're probably going to tear it down and construct something new. So this is deciding to revise, the two of these in particular. And the reason that you're revising it is it's easier to start from scratch than to try to go in and fix something that at its foundation isn't stable. So there's something in your life right now where you can't just kind of like tape it back together, Humpty Dumpty sort of message. So instead you're going to rebuild, and you're going to say what you need this time, and you're going to really kind of be the leader leading the force, right? Okay. So sometimes it's easier to start fresh. It's important to speak from the heart, and you may need to get some legal advice when it comes to business and money as well. Let's do a quick wild card, and then after this, I will take a look at some other, like another question that you have. You just psychically ask it, and then I'll pull a card. Just a reminder before that I do that, I'm actually going to do 2 collective readings this month. I'm going to do one at the mid-month and one at the end of the month, plus a bonus reading. So take a look at my schedule on my website to make sure that you see those. It seems like you guys enjoyed them last month. All right, wild card. Let's see what else you need to focus on to be successful over the next 6 to 8 weeks. Sun, love it. All right, so the Sun card is reversed. With the reverse Sun, there's a focus on self. It's literally can be selfish, but in a good way. So I would say in your life right now, it feels like this is a really good time for you to maybe go back to school, possibly do something just for the fact that it makes you feel good, that it makes you feel renewed. There doesn't have to actually be a quantifiable, like I'll do this and I'll get this. I do this and I feel good. I do this and I feel enriched. I feel like I'm nurturing myself. It's your inner child. So take some time for yourself and make sure that you are happy, you're fulfilled, that you are taken care of, maybe in a way that parents never did before or friends didn't do before. It's your time. Got another horse as well, and it is the divine masculine. This card is definitely divine masculine. Now let's talk about it if there is a man in your life, because this has a different connotation for that. As an aspect of yourself, I'm cool with the sun reversed. Based on everything that we see here, you're just focusing on personal development and personal well-being, because we have the medicine mother that says, take care of you. So this is take care of yourself. Now, if there's a man in your life and or a child in your life, what I see, or someone that identifies as male, I should say, with the card reversed, they need a lot. So what you would want to do, as we saw with this wheel card, is just to make sure that there is a proper amount of boundaries between how much they need, how much you give. Obviously, you want to make sure that if it's a child, they get everything that they need, but you might need some help in that equation. If you're in a partnership, the partner may be a little bit unavailable energetically, either because they're a little selfish, or because, like you this month, they might just be focusing on personal improvement and well-being. So you may not be getting everything you need from people in your life because energetically they have to do some internal integration work. If you date somebody new, make sure you find out about their family, their background, because there could be some wounds from the past that it would be good to know about before getting into the relationship. Okay, nothing here that's an extreme red flag or anything. Generally speaking, I love the sun card. It's just another star. I mean, the sun is our star, and it's a very close star. And it shows your ability to, just like the magician, have a great charisma. So this is charisma, and this is attraction. This is sort of like the chemistry. But the two together, it's a lot of charisma. So you have a lot of charisma this month. And I feel like it is a really good time. Like, we could take the sun card and put these two together and say, you're going to make a splash. Because what is a splash but like elements being pushed everywhere? And you could kind of redefine something, like I said earlier. So both of these together can actually be something quite positive. So that's why we need you to have a positive perspective and to just sort of elevate and stay above, basically, right? All right. So before I get into the next portion, let me just say what we're doing next. So we'll do a quick meditation for like 2 minutes. Then I'm going to pull an extra card at the end. And this is, for the general readings, your chance to psychically ask me a question and say, hey, what do I do about this job? What about this relationship? What's going on here, etc. And hold that question. For those of you that are channel members, I'm going to give you a choice this month. I might do something between like relationships and work for my bonus reading. I don't do many on relationships, but maybe I will do that. But with exception to those bonus readings or fireside chats, I'm not really asking for questions here in the chat. So I just would say focus on thinking about it while we're meditating, and then I'll answer it then. Just a quick note, again, if you enjoy what you see here, let me just tell you how to connect with me. You should follow me on social media if you don't already. With exception to Twitter, my username is Nicholas Ashbaugh on everything. And then on Twitter, it's Ashbaugh, just because of character limits. But on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, I use stories to remind you, and I can put links in the Instagram and Facebook stories. And then on Twitter, I will tweet out a reminder the day before or the day of to remind you. So again, Nicholas Ashbaugh on everything but Twitter, and Twitter is Ashbaugh. And if you like what you see here, engagement is so important, and I can't stress how much a single click of this, don't do it twice or it undoes it, once per session, and then once in a lifetime for the subscribe. And then when it's actually on replay, you can just comment, or you can click the applaud button if you want to give back a little bit more. All of those things help with engagement. Sharing it from the YouTube interface also helps. Thanks to everybody who's done a super sticker or super chat. It helps. I saw some comments, you like my cards. So all of these cards are fairly new. Within the past 6 months or so, I've gotten all of these. A lot of Kyle Gray ones that I use today. So I'm able to refresh my cards with your help. So thank you. All right, let's meditate. I want to bring more abundance in your life. So, I see that we have, and I want to help you get past the tower. So I want you to get to the Wheel of Fortune here. So let's imagine that you're stepping in right after the dust is settling. So when we think of a solar system starting, a baby star basically is born through this cosmic nebula of dust, right? And then the gravity kind of pulls all the heavy elements together, and the sun forms, and then everything around it starts to circle around it. So we got the sun. You're the sun. Let's imagine that you are in this beautiful, majestic sort of cloud of elements here. So if you've ever looked up in a sort of like a NASA website or whatever, and you see those nebulas, where a new star is formed, or it's after the death of a star and something else is forming. That's what it looks like. So I want you to imagine that there's this beautiful colors of like purple and indigo and red and basically everything in the rainbow. And then the center of it is you, this brilliant star shining brightly. Think about what it is that you want to create. I use the manure thing. Let's use dust and cosmic energy instead. It's a much more beautiful metaphor. So see this nebula around you, and imagine what it is that you want to create. This is going to be your solar system. This is going to be the new partnerships, the new love, the new money, all of that stuff. So imagine what it is that you want. Feel some of these things starting to come into orbit. And what you want to do, what we're going to do first is we're going to blast it all with your light from the solar plexus, where I felt some of this before. So you can put your hands on your solar plexus if you want to just feel that energy. We talked about divine masculine, but there's a little bit of divine feminine that's required for this meditation, so we'll balance it out. So just put your hands on your belly and imagine in your mind, in your stomach here, that you're creating something new, that you're going to give symbolic birth to something in your life. And whatever it is, start to feel warmth and energy radiate from that part of your body. And it's right around your belly button. And so if you felt any pain, or if you had any problems with digestion, because that can happen when there's power dynamics going on in your life and you don't feel like you're in control, you feel this gentle melting. It's melting away all of those cords. It's melting away the blocks that we were feeling. It's opening up all of the channels so that you can be bigger, brighter, stronger. If you haven't already closed your eyes, I want you to close your eyes and take a nice deep breath. Inhale. Really hold on to that breath for a second. Think of everything in your life that you're grateful for, and then think of the one or two things that you're tired of. Blast those other things out. Repeat that a couple of times, inhaling and feeling like you're bringing in love, light, energy, resplendence. Exhaling and breathing out the drama, the trauma, all the stuff, all the dust that you don't need. With each breath that you take, now you can kind of return to a normal breathing cycle. Imagine that you're starting to see creations around you. And you can see they don't have to be planets. Let's just that was a symbol there for a second. But if it's a relationship, if it's a job, if it's money, if it's a new house, start to see it coming and aggregating out of the dust. You're meanwhile blasting your rays of light, connecting yourself to each one of these creations, keeping some of them closer, seeing some of them as a more distant kind of opportunity or goal that you have. All the while just breathing and trusting and creating. All right, I'm going to play the singing bowl for about a minute or a minute and a half, and then we're going to look at your question that you have for me. All right, keep your eyes closed, see your energy getting brighter, and see everything coming into a clearer vision. You could even imagine something being right next to you and how good it felt, like getting to that point, seeing it happen. Okay. Take one last deep breath. Relax your neck, shoulder, and back. Feel this sense of calm. Know that you have called into existence or into creation something beautiful. Keep that in your mind. Keep it in your heart. Rub your hands together. Put your left hand on your heart, your right hand on top of that, bringing that energy of power, one chakra, closer to happening, feeling it, because remembering at the beginning here when we saw the Prince of Cups or Princess of Cups right on top of the Six of Wands, it's important to feel what you're doing. And then you can relax your hands. And I want you now just to think of your final question that you would like me to look at. It can be anything in your life. Don't type it, just think it. And I'm going to pull a card and see what the advice is from Spirit. We're going to do two because one fell out. So your final messages here are, the one that fell out from the deck was Five of Swords. So with Five of Swords, I'm not going to count this as the yes, no. I'm going to count this as a clarifying one. I would say for this, the important thing is to remember that not every battle is worth fighting. Not every person is capable of listening. And that sometimes people are really focused on protecting their own whatever. It could be their own safety, their own reputation, and it sometimes separates them from doing what's right. So you're going to be called to not necessarily worry so much about people that aren't ready for this sort of next step. There's some people that just you can't win or you can't quite reach 100% just yet. So I'm encouraging you to reorganize your energy away from that this month because it's not a good use of it. And let's focus instead on the card that I pulled, which would be a soon. If you're asking for a yes or a no, an Eight of Cups is a second chance. So usually what happens with Eight of Cups is you didn't do it the first time and you have a much better chance of accomplishing it the second time. So as a yes, no, I would say you're getting a second chance. If there was something like, it can show like a sabbatical, it can show a breakup, but one where the door was left open. It can show unfinished business. It can also be a lot more powerful where you create a new cycle or you decide to go and walk away from something to find yourself. It's like a journey card, right? A journeyman card where you're going to figure out what makes me really feel alive. And I need to step away from this for a little bit. So I think you need some perspective. I think that you have a really good chance of accomplishing what you want. I think that just like what I said earlier, that it's not always about doing it, like being the first one, it's just doing it right this time. So this time you're much more set up for success and you always have a chance to come back to something. And I think that many of you are being called to do something that maybe this is your last chance to kind of like truly see it through. So take that chance and hopefully people or opportunities will wait because it feels like you've got another foot out the door already. So it looks like many of you are just looking for permission to follow a dream, which you don't need my permission. It feels like that's right. And that's perfectly in alignment with what the whole reading has been about today. So soon would be my answer for yes, no. It's second chances and it's really a choice, but something could delay you here, which could be someone not understanding like why you're doing it and you feel bad or rejecting your idea, rejecting you. And this is saying, you know what, I still got to get on with this path. I'm not always going to get acceptance from boss, mom, dad, friend, culture, etc. Like I just need to, or community, I should say, I just need to do my thing. And so if that's the case, then do your thing. Okay. But this is a cyclical card. So if you want to start something new, working out, writing a book, whatever it is that you want to do, like I see you completing it and I see a lot of work happening. And I told you earlier, I want to get both if I'm going to get them. And you got both. You got the Eight of Wands and you got the Eight of Cups. So this portends good things. This tells me things take, like I said with the Eight of Cups, you can't always predict the timing on it. With this one, the timing is a lot easier. Some of you are forced with something with a really quick turnaround and something that's going to take longer, but maybe is more fulfilling as well. That's only something that you can decide. It's pretty good cards at the end. The thing you got to watch is the one that flew out, which is the Five of Swords. Sorry, that's someone in your life that is just going to be incapable or maybe lacking the imagination to understand what you're doing. All right, let's wrap up really quickly. First of all, thanks to everyone for showing up. Thanks to my moderators for giving me a hand today. If you haven't already hit subscribe, please consider doing it. Over 50% of the people that watch my channel don't subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. I think they should just have a different word for it. It should be called follow instead. But basically the equivalent of following here on YouTube is subscribing. So if you haven't done it, it's good. And if you found me for the first time, who knows when the algorithm works again. So just click the subscribe button if you haven't. I already flashed my social media information, but I'll put it up one more time. So I'm Nicholas Ashbaugh on pretty much everything except Twitter, where I'm Ashbaugh, okay? And I use that a lot to summarize things. In fact, if you missed any of the written cards that I showed at the beginning, they're on my website, which I pinned at the top here. And I also put them on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and I may add them to Twitter at some point, but it's easy to find them. So if you follow me on social media, that's how, and Pinterest as well. I have Pinterest, but I don't advertise it that much. You can join if you'd like. I saw we had a lot of new members, and I occasionally will ask, I will give you guys like polls or Q&A access or a chance to do viewers' choice videos with me. I'm opening that up a little bit as we start to get more members because it allows me to do more videos, and I've been doing more videos. I don't know if you noticed that. That's because you guys supported me more. So if you want more videos, you know how to show your love, and I'll do more videos, and I'll be able to be here more, and I won't have to see as many clients. I can actually just do videos. That's my goal anyway. So thank you again for everyone that's helped out. And if you watch this on replay, you can do the applaud button. And I saw that Maria put a link for my book. So if you're a fan of science fiction or fantasy, like Lord of the Rings or Dune, a little bit more of a read, but for those of you that enjoy it, you could check out my book. It's called The Luminous Ones. It's right there behind me. Thank you so much. I'll be back again tomorrow to read for Taurus. And then I'll be back at the end of the week for Gemini. You can look at the schedule. It's on my website. I haven't sent out my newsletter yet, but I will be doing that over the next couple of days. It's going to be a little later this month just because I did have so much that I was working on. So here's a link to my newsletter. If you want to sign up, you still have time to get it. Here's a link to my live schedule. Here's how you can become a channel member. And here's all the different ways if you want to become like a Patreon patron as well. There you go. Thank you, everyone. And by the way, you should follow me on Instagram if you don't. I post a ton of pictures of my dog, and I know that a lot of you enjoy looking at Apollo, so follow me on Instagram if you haven't already, okay? Take care, everyone. Have a great rest of the weekend and a great week ahead. What a nice way to kick off the month. I appreciate being able to do that with this sign every month. So a lot of love and light to all of you. I'll see anybody that wants to show up tomorrow, same time, same place, okay? Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.